Hi everybody, Tressa Graves here. Make sure you visit my website at www.tressagraves.com to find out a little bit more about the book trailer you're fixing to see on the Sawgrass Footpath. It's inspired by actual events and takes place in the state of Florida. It's got a little bit of everything in it. Don't forget to go visit the website and also check out the t-shirts and all the other cool stuff I got for sale over there. www.tressagraves.com, and remember, the book trailer's next.
The Sawgrass Footpath, written by Tressa Graves. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are products of the author's imagination and used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual events, locales, or persons, living or dead, is entirely coincidental. The Sawgrass Footpath. Copyright 2011 by Tressa Graves. All rights reserved, including the right of reproduction in whole or in part in any form. Edited by Sam Hamilton and Tressa Graves. Read by Michael Shaver. Chapter 1. The Horror. As Tom sat in the driveway of his late parents' house, horrid screams clouded his mind. Tables being thrown to the side, blood spattered throughout the house, as well as two mutilated bodies burned through him like an out-of-control fire. It was safe to say Tom Diggins was definitely at his breaking point in life. As a doctor, he knew what being on the verge of a nervous breakdown meant, and he was tipping the scale. The only thing pushing him, willing to carry on, was his wife, Anne, whom he cherished. Tom ran his fingers through his hair as if to calm himself. It was his choice of OCD, and he never understood why it helped, but it did. Well, at least sometimes. And it was good enough for Tom Diggins, MD. Tom slowly released his seatbelt, which made him feel relief, as he hated wearing it, despite having seen the effects of what happened by not wearing it. Tom had tried to save many lives the years he worked in the ER and saw the gruesome effects of what not wearing it caused, usually trauma to the head or internal organs. Before attempting to get out of the vehicle, Tom rested his head against the steering wheel of the car as he took in a deep breath, trying to compose himself. "Stop being a procrastinator and just get the fuck out of the car," he told himself, as he opened the car door. As he stepped out, a gust of wind blew through him, which was refreshing. Tom closed his eyes as his pitch-black hair blew back over his forehead, exposing his deep, dark eyebrows the girls since high school went crazy over. Tom reopened his eyes and began the dreadful trek towards the front door. Once at the front door, the brutal murder of how his parents died haunted him. No matter how hard he tried to escape what happened to his mother and father, he couldn't. It was why selling his parents' house was so crucial. Tom knew he needed to distance himself from what happened as much as he could. He knew the longer he held on to the house, the harder it would be to overcome the horrors that happened within. He knew this final trip to the house he grew up in would be his last, and he was, oddly enough, okay with it. Tom was tired of fighting with the lurking inner demons having hold over his life. It would be a sad goodbye, but nevertheless, a goodbye desperately needing to take place. As he stood at the front door, he saw the window the intruder broke in through and visualized what the assailant must have looked like. For some reason, he pictured a Richard Ramirez look-alike. The crimes were all just as sadistic and sick as his were. It took the papers to tell him how both his parents were bludgeoned to death with a hammer. Oddly enough, it's not what threw him over the edge, as it was what he found out about his mother, explaining why there was no open casket at the funeral. He knew about one of his mother's breasts was almost severed from her chest, but the fact that she was missing her eyes was way too much to take. All Tom knew was he wanted 5 minutes alone with a sick, demented fucker who brutally tortured and murdered his parents. As he thought back on the day he walked through the house and saw the aftermath of what happened, an explosive rage coursed through him like an uncontrollable conflagration. Tom would love to put an end to the intruder's life. He would show the assailant no compassion. Just as the man, Tom used the word man lightly as the animal was more like it, had shown his parents. Tom lowered his head in what looked like a prayer and whispered through a clenched fist, showing the white of his knuckles. No mercy. He took in a deep breath. You can do this, he assured himself. This will be your last and final goodbye, he said as he composed himself. Tom looked up and stared hypnotically at the front door with the key gripped firmly in his hands. As he slid the key into its hole, he heard a voice behind him. Tom, I ain't heard you for a while now. How have you been? Tom turned around and saw his lifelong neighbor, Trevor Benson, an ex-military Vietnam sniper, standing behind him. Oh, hello, Mr. Benson. How are you, sir? Tom said genially, pleased to see the man standing there. Tom, you're a grown man now, and although I do realize I'm over the hill, but please, call me Trevor, he said with a smile as he held out his hand. Tom managed to smile as he extended out his hand. It's just habit, Mr. Tom began to say, but caught himself and smiled as he held his head down, almost embarrassed. So, Trevor, how have you been? That's more like it. It's good to see the smile on your face. I mean, when I first walked up on you, you looked rather disturbed. Well, yeah, considering what happened, Tom said as he turned around and looked up at the house. There's not too much to smile at here. Understood. Just wanted to come over and let you know we were thinking of you. Me and the missus have spoken of you quite frequently, mainly out of concern. The old for sale sign's been up for a while. Have to say, I think it's probably the best thing for you. Selling a house will wipe a lot clean for you. At least I've prayed for just that. Thank you, Tom smiled somberly. I think it's for the best as well. I'm just here to say one last goodbye to the old girl I grew up in and make sure everything I want is out of here. You think she'll sell easy? So far, it doesn't look very promising. Not many people want a house where a brutal murder took place. Well, unless you're in the Cali area where they thrive on that sort of thing. They're always hoping the next writer or Hollywood producer will show up at their door and pay top dollar for access. You know, they all want cheap thrills and real-life death sells. I've even gotten letters from a few writers who want to do a book on what happened here. I've always turned them down, though, and for damn good reason. Making money off of my parents' death would be blood money, and I'd do just fine if I stayed away from that. Well, on that note, I'll let you get back to it. If you're up to it, stop by the house and have a beer. Say hello to the missus if you'd like. I'd love to, but Ann is waiting for me. I still have a few appointments coming in today. A few old-timers who refuse to see any other doctor in town due to the trust and respect they have, Tom said, then paused as he corrected himself. Had for my father. Well, anyway, you know the story. The entire town does. Hear, hear, Trevor said with a steadfast tone as he held up his hand in a military salute to show his own respect for Tom's late father. On that note, I'll get out of your way. Just remember, me and the missus are here for you if you ever need us. Hell, boy, we watched you grow up and even wiped your ass as a baby a time or two, Trevor said with a fat man's chuckle. Nice, Tom exclaimed as his face turned a beet red. Trevor turned around and headed back toward his own yard. Retribution is a bitch, Tom mumbled. Vengeance can be a... Hearing what Tom said, Trevor turned around and smiled. In the military, we take care of our own. So yeah, retribution is a bitch. And although vengeance can be a... it's usually only a... for the one receiving it, not the one giving it. Take care of your own, boy. Take care of your own. A 9mm loaded with a magazine of full metal jackets is a fine instrument for home protection, Trevor said with a wink, turning back around and walking away.
Don't forget to go visit the website and also check out the t-shirts and all the other cool stuff I got for sale over there. www.tressagraves.com.